the Premier Crozier Keystone Orthopedics Partnership, the official orthopedic provider of the Philadelphia Union. For appointments within 48 hours, call 1-877-CK-MOTION or visit ckmotion.org.
Hi, I'm John DeVella, and this is your Classic Rock Update, brought to you by the Premier Crozier Keystone Orthopedics Partnership. We start out with a story about Alex Lifeson, not as the musician artist, but as the painting artist. It seems that over the course of the past 5 years, Alex has been putting together paintings that get auctioned off for the Kidney Foundation of Canada. Well, the very first year that one went up for grabs, it sold for $3,500. Last year's sold for $5,700. So this year, he's hoping to make a lot more money. And I gotta tell you, there is a lot of hope there. If people are paying $6,000 for this.
Oh, give a little bit. Oh, give a little bit of your love to me. Take it now.
You might recall just a couple of months ago, we were telling you about the battle that went on between Roger Hodgson and Supertramp. Well, the former Supertramp member is releasing a compilation album next month called Classics Live. It's his first album in over a decade. It was recorded during his 2010 tour, and as a preview and gift to his fans, Roger is offering a complimentary download of Dreamer on his website, rogerhodgson.com. Now, he's doing scattered dates during the month of November, but plans a full U.S. tour next year. What you're listening to is new music from The Cars. Now, you might recall a couple of months ago, we told you about how The Cars were caught in a recording studio up in Boston. Well, guess what? It's been 23 years, but they're working on a new album and they're working on a new tour. Although it doesn't sound like they're working on a new sound. If you listen to this, boy, this sounds like 1980s Cars. But they're going to go out on the road. It's everybody, of course, with the exception of Benjamin Orr, who died of cancer in 2000. Well, it's finally out. It came out Tuesday, and everywhere you turned, there was Keith Richards. His new book, Life, is available to the public, and I gotta tell you, when you start hearing some of the quotes from this, well, let's just say they're very Keithy. Let's start off with his relationship with Anita Pallenberg, who he stole from Brian Jones. Keith says, "We were in the back seat of a Bentley somewhere between Barcelona and Valencia. And Ian and I looked at each other, and the tension was so high in the back seat, the next thing I know, we're suddenly together. Anita made the first move. We got closer and closer, and then suddenly, without her old man, she had the balls to break the ice and just say, F it." And then there's Keith on drugs. Even though he's now drug-free, he says he wouldn't mind getting a taste of something new. Quoting Keith, "I've given up everything now, which is a trip in itself. I'm just waiting for them to invent something more interesting. I'm ready to road test it when they are." Now, in the book, he tries to clarify two stories. One that, well, he's backstepping on, and another one that we've told you about before. The first has to do with snorting his father. Keith says it really did happen, but it happened by accident. Quoting him, "As I took off the lid of my father's box, fine bits of my dad flew onto the table, like powder. And honestly, I couldn't resist. I just scooped him up there, took out a straw and said, 'See ya, Dad,' and did a little line of him." As far as the blood transfusions are concerned, we told you once before that Keith came out and said that was just something that he made up. He didn't want to swap his blood with anybody. He figured if that blood was keeping him alive, he was going to keep using it. Lastly, there are the things that he said about Mick Jagger, who he refers to in the book as Her Majesty Brenda. He totally trashed Mick's entire solo career in the 80s. Here's some of the things he said about those albums. Mick's album was called She's the Boss, which said it all. I've never listened to the thing the whole way through. Who has? It's like Adolf Hitler's Mein Kampf. Everybody had a copy, but nobody really listened to it. As to his subsequent titles, carefully worded Primitive Cool and Goddess in the Doorway, which was irresistible to rechristen Dog in the Doorway, I rest my case. This is a band that's talking about a 2011 tour. I think they're talking about private dressing rooms also. Lastly, we have a story about another rock star who has a problem with the internet. In this case, it's Don Henley of the Eagles, who recently told AccessAtlanta.com that he doesn't tweet, he doesn't Facebook, he doesn't go online at all. He believes that social networking sites are a complete waste of time and that we have more than enough stuff to be distracted by. Now, the only thing that could be a bigger waste of time than Don Henley telling you that social networking sites are a big waste of time is us telling you that Don Henley is telling you that social networking sites are a big waste of time. So if you want, you can now end this video and go on a social networking site and waste your time. That's your Classic Rock Update, brought to you by the premier Crozier Keystone Orthopedics Partnership. I'll see you weekday mornings on the radio, Classic Rock 102.9 MGK. That's if I'm not on a social network wasting my time. Grr.